Today's video is on real estate. We're covering the housing market. There's been no housing market crash, but we'll get into that. So this is a 3-year chart of home prices, and this is coming from Redfin. The median sale price of a home in January was $402,523. So compared to 12 months ago, home prices have gone up by 5.2%. I do not believe that this qualifies as a housing market crash, but that is just my opinion. So let's zoom in with a 1-year chart so that you can see month over month. Since the prior month, home prices have fallen by $641 or 0.6%. Are homes still unaffordable for millions of Americans? The answer is yes. Has there been a housing market crash? No. So that is a small decrease, $641 month over month, but that was expected due to seasonality. Now, I want to remind everyone that what you just saw was the median home price in the United States of America. So I already see it in the comments. People are going to say home prices are down 20% in my area. Well, okay, I'm not denying that. If home prices are down 20% in your area, that just means that home prices are up by 25% in a different area. So that's how math works, unfortunately. So let's move on to housing inventory. This is a 3-year chart. This is scary. There are currently 1.34 million homes listed for sale in the US. Year over year, the number of homes for sale is down by 3.4%. This means that there are fewer sellers. So let me zoom out a little bit. So this is a 5-year chart. Look at how many homes were for sale pre-pandemic. The same time in 2019 and 2020, it was in the 1.8 million range. Right now, compare that to 1.3 million. So fewer sellers year over year, and compared to pre-pandemic, it is a drastic difference. So if you're rooting for a housing market crash, then this is not good news for you, because if you want prices to go down, if you want to crash, then you have to have a whole bunch of sellers that need to get rid of their homes. But there are fewer sellers, which is probably why home prices have gone up by 5.2% year over year. Now let's talk about mortgage interest rates. So right now, the 30-year fixed is around 7% again. So are interest rates going to go up, or are they going to go down in the short run? For the time being, we're going to be stuck in the 7% range, and here's why. In the short run, the Federal Reserve is influencing mortgage interest rates significantly. It's with their monetary policy, so they're driving all of this. And I want to be clear about this. It's not what they do right now. It's about the market's anticipation or the market expectation of what's to come. So I want to explain this. So the rate of inflation has been coming down, right? And the market thought that the Federal Reserve would start cutting interest rates in March. So the interest rates on government debt fell in anticipation that the Federal Reserve would start cutting interest rates soon. So it's all about expectations. So interest rates on government debt went down, and mortgage interest rates are correlated to interest rates on government debt, especially, well, I'm specifically talking about the 10-year yield. So that's why mortgage interest rates fell to the mid 6% range. But then the Federal Reserve says at a press conference that in order for them to cut interest rates, for them to actually do that, they want to see a few more good inflation reports. And they said that they don't feel confident enough to cut interest rates by their March meeting. So after the Federal Reserve said that, the newest inflation report came out bad. So inflation came in hotter than expected. So the Federal Reserve was not feeling confident to begin with about cutting interest rates in March. And then after they said that, they get hit with a bad inflation report. So what are the chances that they're going to cut interest rates in March? It's not looking good. So people were previously thinking that the most likely scenario was an interest rate cut in March, but now that's changed. So look at this according to the CME Fed Watch tool. The odds of an interest rate cut in March has fallen to 6.5%. Okay, so most likely no interest rate cuts in March. So then the interest rates on government debt started going back up, and then that drove up mortgage interest rates. Okay, so it's not going to happen in March. How about the next meeting, the next Federal Reserve meeting? So that's going to take place in May. So that's not looking likely either, that they cut in May. just 1 month ago, the odds that the Federal Reserve would cut interest rates by May was at 84%. Now the odds have fallen to 29%, so it's looking less and less likely. So if the Federal Reserve, I told you, they're the ones driving this. If they don't cut interest rates soon, in other words, if they don't do anything, then interest rates on government debts will not change by much. That means that interest rates on mortgages aren't going to change by much either. And that's why I'm saying that we're going to be stuck in this 7% range for the short term. In the median run, so I'm talking about the back half of 2024, mortgage interest rates are expected to fall to the 5 to 6% range. That's because the Federal Reserve expects, so this was written in their SEP, they expect to do 3 interest rate cuts this year in 2024. However, we don't know when the first interest rate cuts when it's going to start, when they're going to begin. But okay, March is off the table, May's looking unlikely, so now it's looking like June or July. Now I want to show you this. So you're looking at the number of homes sold. This is a 5-year chart, and as you can see, it is at depressed levels. So that's what happens when home prices shoot up. Combine that with higher interest rates, homes become less affordable, and there are fewer homes being sold. Now, I want you to look at this 5-year chart, and this is actually good news for buyers. So this shows the percentage of homes that are selling above list price. 24% of homes are selling above list. So this is improving. This is better than the previous month of 25.6%. So we are back in the normal range. Well, I'm comparing this to pre-pandemic. So that's good to see. But I want you to keep in mind that if you're buying a home right now, I don't want you to overpay for a home. But the reality is that 1 out of every 4 homes is still selling above list price. And here's the chart from Redfin that we all love or hate. So this shows us where people are leaving and where they're going. So there's still a lot of outflow from California. New York is seeing outflow, a lot of outflow too. And my state of Illinois is in 3rd place. Nothing to be proud of. Florida is still the #1 destination, but migration to Texas is basically done. More people are headed towards Arizona, Nevada, Tennessee, North Carolina, South Carolina, among other states. But just to be clear, there's still a net inflow to Texas, but it's cooled off a lot. Now, let's talk about home prices for this year. So the situation is that higher mortgage interest rates have decreased demand. So there are fewer buyers because fewer people can afford to buy homes. But nationally, home prices are still up year over year. So that's because there are fewer sellers. So it's supply and demand. Okay, so where do we go from here? And here are the predictions, and we'll just go in alphabetical order. So CoreLogic expects home prices to increase by 2.5% this year. Fannie Mae says that home prices will go up by 3.2% this year. Goldman Sachs says home prices will go up by 5% this year. Moody's says that home prices will decline by 0.4% this year. Morgan Stanley says that home prices will fall by 3% this year. The Mortgage Bankers Association expects home prices to go up by 4.1% this year. National Association of Realtors, home prices will go up by 1.4%. Redfin says that home prices will be flat in 2024. Wells Fargo says that home prices will go up by 2.5% this year. So as you can see, the general expectation is that home prices will go up slightly this year. No major movement is expected by the major institutions. They're not expecting a home price surge. They're not expecting a housing market crash. It all boils down to supply and demand. At the end of the day, that's what it is. And that's influenced by mortgage interest rates as well as the broader economy. But okay, listen, I understand the situation, the unaffordability. I understand the housing is more unaffordable than ever before. And I hear the arguments on the housing market crash side that something has to give. Prices have to come down or wages need to catch up. But I believe that it's going to be a process that gets dragged out. It's not going to happen overnight. So I just want to end with this. If you're going to write in the comments about a housing market crash, about how you're rooting for a housing market crash, then I would respond with great. Let's do it. Sign me up. But my concern Of course, that's one concern, but another concern is that once the Federal Reserve brings back an easier monetary policy, the money printing, the lower interest rates, my concern is that that's going to spike up home prices and make the unaffordability situation worse or prolonged. That's how I see it. So that's your update for today. Please subscribe. I thank you for the support, and I wish you a very nice day. Take care.